But he also is really sharing with us what they did. And he says, as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death and resurrection till he comes. This is not the end of the line. This is the promise of heaven. This is the promise of his coming again. So in communion, as they shared it in the early church, as they did this in remembrance of him, they remembered his death and resurrection, and they remembered that he was coming again. So that in the midst of their tribulation, in the midst of their trials, in the midst of the heartaches of this life, every time they shared communion, it's like he's coming again. So as we share communion this morning, in remembrance of him, we remember these things. And we thank him for his death for us. I wouldn't be here except he died for me. When I was a teenager, I couldn't see the meaning of life. And I particularly couldn't see the meaning of my life. And it didn't seem to be anybody who could answer my questions. And as you can imagine, I have pretty weird questions. And I didn't know of anybody who could answer those questions. Other than to say, be good. Well, that's what my mother said. And my dad kind of backed her up. But what was life all about? And how's it supposed to work? And I couldn't find anybody who could answer those questions, and I had determined I was going to be a hermit in Alaska. Alaska, I'm not sure why Alaska. Maybe some kind of weird idealism I had as a kid. But I was going to be a hermit in Alaska so that I wouldn't bother anybody with my questions. Basically, I was just going to blend away into the wilderness and wouldn't bother anybody again. And then I met Jesus, and I found out that he died for me, not so that I could go be a hermit in Alaska, but so that I could share wonderful news with so many people that I talked to. Changed my life. So whenever I share communion, it's like this is the turning point in my life. Because Jesus' death does that for anybody who receives him. But he didn't stop there. He rose from the dead. So as we share communion, remember him for and thank him for the resurrection, which gives us the opportunity for life. And then I want you to remember that he's coming again. I really can't say it that way. It just doesn't work. He's coming again! Did you hear that, Mickey? Oh, she's hitting right.
I got it.
Jesus is coming again. On my darkest day, on my deepest sorrow, on my greatest heartache, communion tells me Jesus is coming again. This is not it. This is not the end. Jesus is coming again. And when he comes, as Paul said, my tribulation, my little tribulation in this world, which is but for a moment, compared to eternity, is nothing compared to the glory that we'll find in him. I don't know what you're looking for Jesus to come. You know, we all have different reasons depending on what we're dealing with at the time. If you're in your financial bind, wow, Jesus will get me out of this trouble. If you're having a tough time in the world, you say, Jesus will take care of all of this. If you're having problems with people around you, Jesus will take care of the people. If you're having problems in your heart, Jesus will take care of my heart. And let me tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for time with my best friend. Which is what he said about communion. Remember me. Remember me, your best friend. Ever since Jesse died, I've had a little problem with separation anxiety. There are times when Vicky's not home yet. Crazy legislature keeps her all hours. And I start getting anxious. I watch dumb movies on TV just to try to take my mind off it. I keep waiting for a call. My sister called in one of those nights. Nancy called, you know her. She called and said, I'm just pulling them on, call and say hi and bother you. And I said, well, I'm going to pull them on and hang up because Vicky's going to call soon. I'm waiting for her call. It should be any minute. And since she understood that, and since she started it, she didn't mind that I hung up on her. And Vicky did call right after that. And I kind of got settled down. But that's the way I feel with Jesus coming. At a certain point, I have separation anxiety. My best friend. And communion time reminds me that he's coming. Communion time lets me hang up on Nancy and hear his call. So you see why communion was the heart of the early church? Because it was their direct tie to Jesus. It was their physical, they could touch it and taste it, tie to Jesus. It was their personal tie to Jesus because he was the one who said, do this in remembrance of me. He was the one who gave them a physical tie to him, where as they took part in what was the Passover, now was the communion. They can remember that he died for them, and that he rose for them, and that he's coming again. And that message, that point of communion has been passed down for 2,000 years. And you know why? Not just because it's a cool tradition. Because it's still our tie to Jesus. It's still a way to physically react to him. It's still a way to emotionally know that he's here. It's still a way to make a personal connection with the Savior. To be reminded of him and his death, his resurrection, and his coming again! Sorry. Did I say it right that time? No. Did you hear it, Becky? Now, Gary usually answers for you. I don't know why you didn't.
I think she can speak first.
Let's pray. Father, I thank you for such a powerful reminder you give us. To remember our best friend, the one who gave his life for us, the one who rose again to defeat death, the one who's coming again. Thank you for this precious time to share with one another, to share with you, remembering Jesus. We thank you in his name. Amen.